Among the oldest and most revered classical dance traditions of India, Odissi is more than movement, more than performance. It is poetry in motion. It is a sacred storytelling tradition rooted in the ancient temples of Odisha. For centuries, this dance has been practiced not just as an art form, but as a spiritual offering, a devotional act that connects the human soul with the divine. Every movement, every glance, every gesture in Odissi is layered with meaning, passed down through generations like a sacred flame kept alive. Odissi is elegance, precision, and emotion woven into rhythmic patterns. It draws from deeply embedded mythological and cultural narratives that echo themes of transformation, courage, and truth. Within its graceful choreography lies a profound message, a timeless story of the triumph of light over darkness, of truth over illusion, of the self over the ego. At the heart of many Odissi performances is a powerful motif, the destruction of ego and fear. These are not abstract ideas. They are lived experiences, symbolic battles that unfold on stage through expressive movement and rhythm. In the traditional repertoire, dancers often take inspiration from the Shakta tradition, stories that revere the divine feminine not just as a nurturer, but as a warrior, a protector, a liberator. In Odissi, this divine feminine energy, Shakti, becomes the embodiment of transformation. As the dancer enters the stage, clad in the traditional attire of crimson, silver, and bells, a silent stillness falls upon the audience. The music begins slowly, and with it, the dancer begins to move, each gesture carefully placed, each expression deliberate. Her torso bends like a river's flow, her eyes dart like arrows, her arms rise to form ancient mudras that tell stories older than words. She is no longer herself. She becomes the story. She becomes the energy. She becomes the goddess. What makes Odissi so unique is the way it uses the body as a canvas. The torso moves in a wave-like motion, called tribhangi, symbolizing the triple bend, neck, waist, and knee. This fluidity is not just beautiful to behold. It symbolizes the flexibility and power of feminine energy. It represents how the divine can be graceful and fierce at once. The dancer moves not just across space, but across realms, bringing myth into the now, bringing gods into the room. These performances are never just for applause. They are for remembrance. They are for inner awakening. They remind us of stories we may have forgotten, values we may have misplaced, stories of Durga's fierce protection, of Kali's fearless truth, of Lakshmi's prosperity, and Sarvati's wisdom. These are not just stories of gods. They are stories of us, of the battles we fight, the fears we carry, and the victories we long for. Odissi, like many classical Indian art forms, is a living narrative. It breathes. It evolves. Yet, it stays anchored in a timeless ocean of wisdom. It connects us with our roots while guiding us toward our future. It shows us that tradition is not a thing of the past, but a force that can guide the present. And in this rhythm, there is education. In this movement, there is preservation. Through Odissi, cultural identity is passed from generation to generation, not as a rigid doctrine, but as an invitation to understand, to feel, and to live with deeper meaning. The dancer does not merely perform for an audience. She speaks to their souls, inviting them into the story. As the story unfolds through Odissi, something deeper begins to stir, not just in the dancer, but in those who watch. The rhythm of the mridangam, the melodic rise of the bansuri, and the haunting chant of Sanskrit verses begin to blur the boundary between time and memory. Suddenly, it no longer feels like a performance. It becomes a shared journey, between the past and the present, between the body and the soul. The themes explored through Odissi transcend borders. They are universally human. Who among us has not wrestled with fear? Who has not, at some point, felt trapped by ego, by pride, by illusion? The stories told through these dance of goddesses slaying demons, of devotees seeking truth, of light breaking through darkness, are not just mythology. They are metaphors. They are invitations to reflect on our own journeys. In Odissi, fear is not ignored. It is danced. Ego is not denied. It is confronted. And liberation is not imagined. It is embodied. The dancer becomes the medium through which these inner struggles and triumphs are played out. And in watching her, the audience sees a reflection of their own soul's dance, their own longing to break free, to grow, to transform. Take, for instance, a performance based on the legend of Mahishasura, the fierce form of Durga who battles and defeats the buffalo demon. The dancer, moving through phases of calm determination, rising power, and final victory, portrays not just a mythological battle, but the inner battle we all must face. The demon could be fear, it could be ego, it could be injustice. And the goddess, she lives in all of us. Her victory becomes our inspiration. This is the true gift of Indian classical dance. It speaks in silence. It teaches without preaching. It remembers without reading. It touches the intangible. Every time a young dancer steps into an Odissi class and learns to balance, to emote, to express, they are not just learning steps. They are learning values, patience, discipline, devotion, awareness, and above all, respect for the art, for the story, for the culture, and for the self. At Garagai Academy Limited, this is the vision we hold close. We believe that such art forms are not to be locked away in books or museums. They must be lived, taught, experienced, shared. That is why we support Odissi not just through performance platforms, but through education, festivals, and digital storytelling. We want this dance to travel, not just across cities, but into the hearts of children, families, and communities. We believe that art is one of the most powerful tools for cultural connection. In a world growing more fragmented by the day, Odissi offers a thread of unity. It reminds us of who we are, where we come from, what we stand for, and what we must never forget. As we teach this art to younger generations, we don't just teach movement, we teach belonging. For a child of Indian heritage born far from Odisha, perhaps in Sydney or New York or London, stepping into an Odissi class is like stepping into a time machine. Suddenly, they are connected to their ancestors, to their language, to their rituals. The dance becomes a bridge between continents, a bridge between generations. And yet, Odissi is not just for those of Indian origin. Its beauty, its themes, its elegance speak to all hearts. Whether one understands Sanskrit or not, the emotions shine through. Whether one knows the myths or not, the courage and transformation resonate. Odissi opens a door. All it asks is that you walk in with your eyes and heart open. The dancer's journey is not easy. It demands years of dedication, countless hours of practice. But through this discipline comes empowerment. When a dancer performs a piece rooted in the Shakta tradition, she is not just mimicking a goddess. She is invoking her. She is allowing that energy to pass through her. And in that moment, the dancer is transformed. And so is the one who watches. In a world where speed is celebrated, where distractions come easily, and where traditions often fade into the background, Odissi reminds us to slow down and listen, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. It asks us to feel more deeply, to move more consciously, to live with awareness. It's not just about remembering who we were, it's about realizing who we still are. Through Odissi, we learn that heritage is not a burden, it is a strength. It is a quiet power that moves with us, silently shaping how we think, how we feel, and how we relate to the world around us. When this art is practiced, it becomes a form of meditation. When it is performed, it becomes a prayer. When it is taught, it becomes a legacy. And legacy is what we need today, more than ever, not just to look back, but to move forward with clarity. When a young dancer learns to hold a mudra, balance in Trigangi, or express the sorrow of Sita or the rage of Kali, they are not just learning dance. They are learning empathy. They are learning storytelling. They are learning how to connect the human experience across cultures and time. Cultural education is not about clinging to the past. It's about carrying forward its wisdom. At Bharatgara Academy, we are committed to nurturing that wisdom, not in theory, but in practice. That is why we support festivals that bring dancers together, why we host workshops that go beyond performance and into the roots of these traditions, why we create digital stories that can reach every screen, every home, every curious heart. When we show an Odissi performance in a school auditorium, in a park, in a theater, or even on a phone screen, we are sharing more than beauty. We are sharing the values of courage, of self discovery, of truth. These stories say that fear can be danced through, that ego can be burned away with rhythm, that the divine feminine is not an idea, it is a lived force that awakens through expression. This is the timeless message that Odissi carries, and it's not limited to temples or textbooks. It lives on stage, in classrooms, in hearts. It tells us that there is power in softness, that there is bravery in tradition, and that stories can still heal us, even today. Imagine a child watching an Odissi performance for the first time, eyes wide, mouth open, utterly still. That moment is not small. It is the beginning of a connection. It is the moment a seed is planted, and maybe years from now, that same child will carry forward the story. Maybe they will dance. Maybe they will teach. Or maybe they will simply remember the feeling, that sense of wonder, of reverence, of something ancient and beautiful touching their soul. And that is enough. When we preserve Odissi, we preserve a part of ourselves. When we support dancers, we support culture. And when we share this art, we remind each other that even in today's world, filled with speed, noise, and uncertainty, grace still has a place. Rhythm still speaks, and tradition still shines. Let us keep that rhythm alive. Let us keep dancing. Let us continue telling these stories, not because they are old, but because they are eternal. Thank you for listening, for remembering, and for being part of this journey into the heart of Odissi, the dance of spirit, strength, and liberation.